Welcome to this online talk show about retail merchandise and category management. Today we will discuss an old and forgotten success framework which promises to improve retail results. The book Breakthrough C&A's Secret Formula Rediscovered. Why is the right decision support system, what we will be talking about today, why is that crucial for success in retail?
Well, thanks, Erik. First of all, I'm very happy that you don't introduce me as a consultant, because that's the last thing I am. And it's all about what we're discussing today is what do we actually see and do on the shop floor. And I think if there's one thing Ansgar has taught me over the years, and I have his book with me daily, and it's really well used, you can see it, all the red marks here, is I think the most important thing is how does the layout of my store look like, and what kind of products do I have on display, and what do I earn per product?
So it's really about making the right decisions and evaluating them.
Absolutely.
We only use the valuable, the nutritional value, high nutritional value raw materials. We sell them through mainly the Dutch retail market, which are calculating their margins in percentages. And perhaps we'll spend some time on that, but that is not helping the food transition we all in this society we all should be waiting for.
Because you strive furiously to make your products as attractive as possible, and then they are sold at a price which you consider is a bit too high to be really helpful in making the right transition when it comes to whole foods.
Yeah, the key is in fact that yes, the cost price will be a little bit higher of sustainable and healthy products, but much more than that is the retail price higher. And that's a pity, of course, because that means that only it's available for a part of the population and not available for lots of other people.
Yeah.
And that's blocking the total food transition.
It's not really a forgotten formula, but more a German formula. So in Germany, at the Bildungszentrum Einzelhandel, the education center for retail, they teach it. Susanne Sievers is a friend of mine. It's called Deckungsbeitrag. And what I'm really happy about is that there's people here in the chat room from CRISP working on this, and also a good friend Dieter Brandes. And Dieter founded Aldi in the Netherlands, and he's the one who also taught me about this, saying, you know, these things what McKinsey is saying, these other activity-based costing, it's all ridiculous. And we'd like to try
Dieter,
to
you're with us on the show, I noticed, so warm welcome to you.
The content, the real raw materials will be a lot more expensive. No, that's most probably only 20 to 25% of the total difference. But due to the fact that the gross margin in percentages in the retail food is, let's say, roughly 35%, also the difference, it's 35%. That means that the product with a retail price of €1 is 35 cents of hard cents, but 70 cents for the more expensive product, for the sustainable product or for the healthy product.
So can you blame them?
No, it's in fact, it's in Dutch would say onbewust onbekwaam partially. But it needs a wake-up call.
Yeah.
So if
you need to give it just more thought to get it right.
If we all think in the chain, especially also some of the retailers advocating they want to promote healthy and sustainable food, this is a very easy thing they can do.
And they bring you a bottle, they deliver the bottle. CRISP earns money on that, so you could call that gross margin dollars, the contribution margin dollars, gross profit dollars. In German, they call it Deckungsbeitrag. So for moving a bottle to me, they get 5, and we give the money to give to the supplier. And because they pay the supplier later, hopefully there's more money in it so that they can use this for short-term financing. So 5 is the money for CRISP. Picnic, it's run by the brother of a friend of mine. And for a bottle of water, Picnic gets 50 cents. And some money goes to Pellegrino.
They need to do exactly the same with a completely different result.
10 times difference, yeah.
Yeah, and that's quite bizarre, and that's what we're discussing here today. Let's do this quiz question. So Jan's product is on the top, of course. It's the very healthy, low-carb, crunchy repen that John cannot wait to to enjoy. And the alternative is also really delicious, but it's very high carb, high sugar, high. It's our favorite Dutch good old mergpijpjes. Now, when you would sell the same volumes, then what should be the selling price for the mergpijpjes? That is the question.
The same number of units sold, the same turnover speed.
Yeah.
And at what price is it equally profitable? What would your computer system say?
So just click on the answer of your choice. What do you think should be the selling price? We wait for the answers to come in, because I think it's nice to reflect on this quiz question, as it illustrates what it's all about. So the first who was brave enough to answer says €3. That should be the selling price. Let's wait a little bit more. Some others come in too, saying €4. It's getting exciting right now, because we now have 67% saying €3, 33% saying €4. John, what should... now there's someone brave enough to answer €2 even. John, what is the correct answer? Let's give it away.
Well, theoretically, I asked the CEO of C&A, who's your brother-in-law, I think, who was, and he said €2. And the computer systems will say €2. And when you learn at Windesheim Hogeschool, they'll say €2. So €2 is the correct answer if you want to pass the test.
Yeah. But people have been listening to you. Maybe they even read the book, and they all answer €3, or 63% do. Yeah. And others are really hoping that it would be €4. So that's 25%.
Jeroen?
What do you think, Jeroen?
Well, I'm fascinated by the example. I mean, I tend to say, honestly, I would also answer €2.
So 4 minus 2, so the customer gives 4.
Yeah.
They give 2 to Jan, TastyBasics. They keep 2. So the customer has to give a certain amount of money to the supplier. They give 1 away, and they have to have 2 left over. So what minus 2 is 1, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So in both cases, they have a €2 Deckungsbeitrag. Then in Rotterdam, they did it in the second store. So the net profit had been going 45, 50, so on. And then 1906, they started this. And within 4 years, it had snowballed to 200,000, and it kept snowballing after that.
So it became part of the system. And when you did your training in Hamburg, this was also thought.
Yes, it was a thought and really common sense. Common sense, math, simple. And so I went into the store together with my cousin Martijn. We started on the same day. And we were working in the store and looking at what's going on and bringing out the garbage, and working in the fur coat department. And then in the fur coat department, there were hardly any customers. And we were working with fur coats like the one you see. And it's about 120 dead hamsters, 60 dead minks. And I said, this is ridiculous. We're killing 60 animals, 100 animals, and hardly anybody is buying them. And I went to the regional manager and I said, I protest. And he said, you should shut your mouth. But he said, Ansgar, listen, when we sell this one coat, the customer gives us 10,000. And we pay the coat makers 8,000. So we get €2,000 just for moving one hanger logistically through our system. And when we move the same hanger with a polyester coat, the customer is only paying us 20. So we need to move 100 polyester coats to get the same Deckungsbeitrag as for one mink or fur coat.
Very much like the example with the 2 bottles in front of us. Yet this system, this formula, these logics were abolished. Forgotten.
Well, we're replaced by best practice. In Germany, we're working in German, and then we switched to English because we had a merger of all the C&A countries. The CEO, my Uncle Rudolph, had retired in 1988, and the new management said, we want to do best practice. We want to bring in the smartest people. We want to have academics. And my father never went to university, for example, and just worked in the stores from 18. And then I was in the army. Jeroen has been in the army. I was in university doing business administration. I came back, and everybody was panicked, all yelling at each other in 8 different languages. And we were getting these computer printouts from the consultants, and they said, your polyester coat is making 20 out of 40, so it's got a 50% margin. Your fur coats are making 2 out of 10, it's only a 20% margin. Your costs are 35%. Your fur coat is losing money. For me, as a shoe buyer, is flip-flops, 1 to 10, or leather shoes, 50 to 100. And they said the flip-flops are more profitable. And I said, this is ridiculous. Yeah. And dress is the same, and everybody in the company is running around. People are getting fired. So it was a very confusing time for me.
Yeah, so it's really, again, the misconception of thinking in relatives rather than in absolutes. Yeah. You get completely different outcome. You get completely different decisions and different outcome. Yeah. And even today, when you ask ChatGPT, it's really deep down integrated in all the systems related to retail.
Yeah. And the targets.
So you can make numbers look really good also when you talk about percentages rather than
sometimes it's like
euros.
a spiral. You need it for the banks, you need it for investors, so they need to see the numbers, and they don't get this game. They want to see, this is a great brutal calculated profit, and because that's what the computer says yes. Mm-hmm. I think this is a good example. But it's not only about C&A. I think lots of companies have left the marketplace. We've all fell in the same trap.
And you have to the people in the stores and the teams doing the financing and the targeting. They have to have the right weapons, and they have to have the right binoculars. And if the binoculars is not showing them the reality, then they got a problem. So when I was buying the shoes, we said we were buying shoes for 60, and then the computer or the targeting system said, okay, the shoe in England needs to be 150, but the shoe in Germany could be 100. And that's not logical. Dieter Brandes is watching now. When I was talking about it, he said, for your selling price and how much money you're making, what your rent is, what your staff costs are, is totally irrelevant. You're looking at how to increase on the income side.
But it's especially about making the right decision, common sense, looking at the same numbers with a different view.
No, you have to really reprogram your software and your targeting. So you get retail management without margins and without sales. It's really strange.
Yeah, that's actually what they did at Ikea, right? They really took the percentages out of the
computer
system.
That's right. Yeah.
So what's the story?
Yeah. So Ingvar is what they call a friendly rebel, and he wrote a book called Leading by Design, and I read it before I went to work at Ikea. I worked at Ikea Utrecht as the manager for the cash and carry department, and he was selling hot dogs, and he said, let's sell hot dogs, we're going to have a snack stand, and at what profit can they make a profit? We need to sell 3,000 hot dogs a day. And then he said, I want to sell these cups, the bang bakers, and he had them on pallets, very little handling, and they were using an incredible Deckungsbeitrag on a pallet, so really a lot of cash coming to Ikea. And then he would walk through the stores, and then his cups, which he had bought, were all the way in the corner, in the worst possible part of the store, what you're saying about layout. And then he went to the store manager and he said, Bjorn, what the hell's going on? And Bjorn said, yes, but Ingvar was selling them under the gross margin percentage is lower than the store's average cost percentage. So they're making us, they're losing money. And Ingvar said, no, they're making money. And he said, this target is a stumbling block, and we need to remove the target. We need to remove the wall, the target. Yep.
So he actually managed to get all the percentages out of the
Out
system,
of the computer
right?
systems, yeah.
But those, if you see what they make on afwasborstels, I don't know the English word for that, but to wash your dishes, it's phenomenal because they have such a huge volume driving through the stores, and they know exactly where to position.
And the idea is
We made a mistake. When I was at Ikea, we said we're going to go by sales. We're not going to go by percentage margin, but sales. So we saw that tea lights, the theelichtjes, were selling like crazy. And we had the best price for tea lights, and I had them in 30 places through the store. And I also had these little pads that you put under your chair to make sure they don't get scratched.
Yeah.
And at a certain moment, I looked in the computer system, what was the actual buying price for the tea lights? So we were paying €3 to buy the tea lights, and we were selling them for $2.75. So we were giving every customer 25 cents along with the bags of tea lights.
Yeah.
So just going by sales, you'll make really big mistakes in that way.
This is what people usually expect. What we see in this picture. If you drop below the percentage margin, you're likely to crash.
If you carry on with that focus on that percentage, then you see what's happening with the rocket. And I think we discussed in the beginning, we have seen so many examples. So everybody is steering at that. We need to hit that certain target. But if you then say, what do you make on this merkpijpje? Then nobody knows the answer. And that's where it goes wrong.
I think Jan already explained that basically a consumer pays to 3 organizations. So do you want to elaborate on this?
So this is Ingvar Kamprad in his book, Leading by Design. He says, think of 3 cash desks in your store. The customer comes in and he pays 3 different people. So he puts one money in the cash desk for the taxes, the BTW, VAT. He puts one, the suppliers has a little cash desk in the store for making the furniture. And then there's a cash desk for the store itself. So the top line of the store is not gross merchandise value. It's not sales. Sales are pretty much irrelevant. Dieter, he also said to me, don't go price times volume, but go Deckungsbeitrag or margin dollars times volume. And then we go to the next sheet. Yep. So this is the framework, and it's the whole thing. It's very simple. So you have the selling price minus the buying price. So the wine, the selling price is 20 for the Strauburgunder at Crisp, minus the buying price is maybe 15. So you get a Deckungsbeitrag with little dB per unit, with C&A per piece. And then you sell maybe 100, so you have the 5 you make per unit times 100, you make 500. And that's then the stock keeping units, or what they call C&A, the styles, Deckungsbeitrag with a capital dB. And then you take them from all the SKUs, all the things you're selling, and that's your total Deckungsbeitrag, your total gross profit, your total, what they call it, C&A, buyer's calculated profit, BCP fund in euros, minus all your operating expenses, which are increasing, your rent, your salaries, overhead, energy costs. And those are $2 values. One minus the other is the total firm's net profit. So there's no margin percentage in your spreadsheet. There's not even total sales in your spreadsheet. Totally different spreadsheet and totally different way of looking at things.
And there you leverage your operating expenses. So this silk dress is making a loss.
The silk dress is making a loss?
Silk, 36,000 operating expenses?
No. So silk is making 30,000.
Yeah.
And the polyester is making 7,000.
Yeah. Oh, 7,500. Yeah.
Yeah. So the little dB for the polyester is 7. That's per unit, and you're selling the same number of units, so units a piece are the same. So the polyester is generating for the store, and the store's cash at 7,000. So the 30 plus the 7 is in total 37.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a store, we're getting 37,000. That's what's coming in our cash desk.
Yeah.
And we have to pay the rent and salaries is 36, and so our earnings is 1,000 netto. So if we sell only silk, say 2,000 silk, would we be making a profit? If we go back one sheet, just keep it simple. Yeah.
Well, Jan, you will chip in there. I would say no, if we only sell silk.
If
it's a combination.
If you sell
What does
2,000 silk, you make a Deckungsbeitrag of 60,000 then, right? So you make a huge result, but then you need to find the consumers to buy 2,000 silk.
Yeah.
So look at what happens if we sell 2,000 silk. Then the next sheet. Oh no, wait. This makes it more complicated. But we'll go to the next sheet.
Yeah.
The
So
next
the
one.
24,000 will be the earnings
Yeah.
then.
This is just silk. So you have the same 36,000 in expenses, but your Deckungsbeitrag is 60,000, and then so you're making 24,000 in earnings. And this is without seeing the store's total sales. But so if you're just trying to keep it as simple as possible, just saying what am I making on this product, what am I making on that product in real absolute dollars, it becomes a bit more easy to make the decisions.
And the fun thing is that you already said when you add the percentages, the puzzle gets a lot more complex. And that's what's happening in reality, right? Because people look at the gross margin and then they calculate it back. And they use a rear mirror, basically, on the gross margin that they made earlier.
What would be the break-even percentage on this sheet?
Yeah, I have no idea because
You
it's
can look at
so
the sheet.
complex. There's the break-even is 36%.
So your margin was 37 minus 36 is wafer thin. You're only making 1%.
Right.
So if you were able to increase your gross margin to 38% and you have your operating expenses 36, what would be your earnings?
Is there any answer in the chat?
Yeah, it's 24,000, right?
No, I'll go back. Just here. If you have the same sales, 100,000, and you're making 37,000 in Deckungsbeitrag, and you increase that to 38,000, and your expenses are still 36,000, then you have 38% minus 36%, then you have 2%. Then your profit is doubled. So this is what McKinsey says. You need to understand the leverage that you get from increasing your percentage. And McKinsey then says, if your percentage goes down from 37% to 35%, then 35 minus 36 is negative. So they say you need to guard every percent of your margin, otherwise you're fucked. So whatever. So now with the silk, we're going to dive to 33%, and then we'll see what happens. So expenses 36, gross margin is under expenses 33, and your net profit has increased from 1 to 13.
Yeah, so especially on the top line is where you make a big difference. That's where a lot of consultants always focus on the bottom line too much and then calculate it into percentages.
What's the top line?
The top line is what's coming in. It's your sales, your gross.
We'll go back to the Deckungsbeitrag sheet. And further back, the one with the formula. This one. There is no top line.
Great silence on the system, and I mean that's your overriding thing. There is no top line.
No,
you should focus on the Deckungsbeitrag.
Yes, that's the other top line.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So maybe it was a very useful silence.
Absolutely, I think it made everyone think, but also I think the conclusion is quite shocking because that means you really need to shift your own way of thinking about the entire business. Is that necessary, or is it just an experiment of thought?
It's as nuts as you can get. It's really weird. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's go to the rule of thumb, which is actually really simple.
That's what we need, obviously.
After silence, you need something simple.
How difficult it is to explain retail logics, which are so simple, and especially for Uncle John, who has been living this for the last 25 years, 30 years even. But this is what it's all about. If we're making money, then it should be clear. What do you make on this book? What do you make on this bottle?
Right.
That's what this all decides.
And how much the supplier is making is irrelevant for how much the retailer is making.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little, let's say, also from my angle. Customers are not paying with percentages, I think, John, isn't it? They pay with hard money. So the effect of, and that's my main reason, as I said, to support your thinking, is that because people are paying hard money, it means also that if retailers, in this case, calculate on percentages, and a little bit more expensive product in real cost price is a lot more expensive in hard euros. That's a reason, of course, then to go back, because on one unit there's not more cost, and if for societal reasons or health reasons or for sustainability reasons, a product is more attractive, it is more sensible to society. It's weird, of course, that product per unit is bringing in more hard money than the traditional unhealthy product. And that should be a wake-up call there as well. We all are going towards a more healthy food chain from the angle I come from, but without realizing it very, very well, before this meeting, of course, but without realizing it very, very well, we earn more money on the back, so to say, of those movements in society. For example, producers of healthy and sustainable food, which are blocking their way to the consumer is blocked. What I was a little bit surprised of, and I shouldn't be perhaps, but for example, the compared to us here on the table, the younger guys, the category managers, they don't really realize what the effect is of their normal percentage calculations. They don't really realize that they make the products unnecessarily expensive.
Retailers selling plants to German stores, and they were saying this is really interesting because about half our clients are thinking in Deckungsbeitrag euros, and half the clients in Germany are thinking in percentages. So in Germany, it's much more normal.
Yeah, and I was giving it some thought also with the top line. Of course, it has to do with the fact that in the store, basically, you have nothing to do with the rest of the value chain when it comes to your own result. So again, what Dieter said in his book also, it's not about the total price, but it's only about your Deckungsbeitrag multiplied by the volume.
We have that clear vision.
Yeah, and that's the key message, I think, from for many retailers, because you're really focused on the total end price, everything that runs through your bank accounts, while it's not yours to keep. A big part of that is completely outside of your system.
The question was the question I wrote a thesis about for 6 years at the Erasmus University, and that was how, if the percentage cost is not a reflection of your actual expenses, how do you allocate expenses to be able to say what's profitable and what's not profitable?
Right.
I was working at Colmar and I did activity-based costing in the distribution center there. So the hammer I had was activity-based costing, and in C&A they'd done Stückkostenberechnung, and they were timing and saying how much does it cost to sell this, how much does it cost to sell that. Procter & Gamble, direct product profitability, and so on. So then my uncle Rudolph and Ernest and Martin, they wrote the book 4 Generations of C&A, and they talked about Bernard Joseph and the explosion of net profit. And I asked Uncle Rudolph, I said, how did you guys do that before computer systems? How did you allocate the expenses?
Yeah, well, the answer that is most popular, that was given before you give it away, is you don't. You focus on increasing the sales. Is that also what they did?
No, it's totally wrong.
How did they then?
That's totally wrong. You look at the opportunity cost.
All right.
So if you're selling and you're making 5, and you have and you decide to make 50 cents instead of 5, you incur an opportunity cost. So if you look on Wikipedia, you look at Deckungsbeitrag, and then it says relative Deckungsbeitrag Opportunitätskosten. Opportuniteitskosten, the selling floor, you have to make the decisions, Jeroen?
Of course, yeah. And I think this is what it shows, right?
So this helps you make the right decisions with the assortment, the categories.
What brings in the money? And the first thing we did was to position it the moment you walk into the store at the right-hand side. It had a practical thing because it was always well stocked and we could position it nicely. But we also looked at the Deckungsbeitrag and we said, this is really bringing in the money. So the sales really increased because we gave it a more prominent position. And it really helps to look at your products. And then it turned out 1 out of every 2 products was this cleaning product. Mm-hmm. So then there's no debate. But I think Ikea said, we want to be the cheapest in those little candles. So even if we lose money, but if we sell bulk, then people will throw it into their bags and will immediately go to the next sell. So in the end...
No, the point was, Ikea, when I was working there, and Ingvar was saying, what the hell are percentages anyway?
Yeah.
But no Germans they're a Scandinavian company, so they didn't have this Deckungsbeitrag framework. Mm-hmm. When you looked in the Ikea manuals, it said, okay, you have sales, you have percentage, you have cost as a percentage. So they knew, everybody knows that it's a problem. But they didn't have it in the manuals of 2004 when I was there, 2005. Mm-hmm. Now you have a guy called Wim Blau. So Wim Blau might be watching. He was chief of digital things at Ikea. And now he's working at C&A because Jeannie Boer took all the Ikea people to C&A. But Wim, he sent me an email and he said, Deckungsbeitrag is the source of Ikea's overtag. And overtag is sustainable competitive advantage. So Deckungsbeitrag is the source of Ikea's sustainable competitive advantage because you cannot eat percentages.
The criterion is that if you calculate the same euro cents margin, the product would be substantially lower in price. I would be also an advocate, by the way, for healthy and sustainable products to lower the VAT to 0%. That would be an enormous, more attractive price for healthy products. And then, of course, that's not gone. It's a spiral in the right direction, because if the volume of the production of those products increases, the cost price goes down. Yeah. And as I said, the real hard extra price for healthy food is the price for agriculture. That's only a very limited part.
So we're here in the backdrop of the Rotterdam Harbor.
Yeah.
Jan, would you think it would be unfair
if say one thing about
yeah, sure.
So what's important is the retailer is selling the sugary garbage and is selling this, and this has 5 times as much sugar as this. But in their spreadsheet, if it's going from 1 to 2 and from 2 to 4, they think it's equally profitable. But if they change the spreadsheet to reflect the absolute dollars to the Deckungsbeitrag, you make a Deckungsbeitrag of 1 or a Deckungsbeitrag of 2, and you choose 1 instead of 2, you're incurring an opportunity cost. But if you switch on your computer today, at most retailers, you cannot see the opportunity cost. So they need to reprogram the computer to reflect the opportunity cost to see the true costs.
So John, in your daytime job, you're the founder, one of the fund manager of Value Machines Fund, as we see in your shirt as well. How does this way of thinking, how does this formula help you assess investments? Because we have a lot of investors also in the show, percentage-wise.
Yeah. Let's go relatively quick through the sheets. Yeah. So just the Trader Joe's is not publicly listed. It's part of Aldi, and here you see how they do the Deckungsbeitrag. It's in the book called Becoming Trader Joe, and then we go on. And we make a lot of money because we own Amazon shares. And Amazon calls Deckungsbeitrag contribution profit. It's a contribution margin and gross profit in one word sort of thing. And it's complicated because all the companies use different jargon. And then my colleague found Murphy USA. And at Murphy USA, if you just really quick, they say the contribution is what they focus on. They don't mention the sales. And then you see the total shareholder return of Murphy USA and Amazon, the index 300%, and then C&A Brazil, since the IPO, has gone down in value, but they have increased their gross margin percentage.
So this also helps you assess the right investments.
Yeah,
The companies that get this right
Yeah.
in retail
Yeah.
are outperforming the rest.
Yeah, and we're looking for other companies who have the same way of thinking. So please let me know. You have my email address, and then we'll be able to make more money for our co-investors and for ourselves.
Yeah, so yeah, very interesting. Thank you very much for your interest. We wish you really great results in euros and not in percentages. Have a great day.